Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Everyday AI Scenarios in SharePoint. But before we get started, I think we need to get real. The truth is not everyone's SharePoint environment and governance is in order. And in many cases, it could just be a dumping ground for files. With that said, in order to use AI and to get the most out of your SharePoint and Copilot, I highly recommend you take a look at our two blogs this month, which I have put links in the end of the program, and they're also posted on our website. The first is 5 things your AI governance framework has to get right before you scale Copilot or build custom agents. And the second is why AI readiness starts in SharePoint. It's also important to get your SharePoint set up for success, and that is exactly the blogs we're talking about today. So what is the big deal about AI in SharePoint? It's about using natural language to plan and build solutions in SharePoint. It's about driving business process by giving you tools to organize and clean up SharePoint. And finally, it's about enriching your content with metadata to keep content updated so Copilot can deliver better results. And that is what we'll be talking about and showing you today as best as possible. We've got some screenshots. This is a public preview solution, so there's not much we could have. There's been some scenarios with trying to do some live demos that haven't worked out perfectly. So we've got some screenshots and we'll walk you through what we're going to show you today. With that, I am honored to introduce you to our very own Microsoft MVP, Jen Mason, who's our VP for Workforce Transformation and Learning. She also heads up our Evolve Learning and Adoption Services. And she recently went to the Microsoft Community Conference last month and is going to share some of the new announcements about SharePoint that were discussed. Also with me today is Chadwick Connery, who works on our modern work team and spends most of his days working in SharePoint and helping customers modernize their SharePoint environments and building intranets. And of course, Andrew Sloan with our Cloud Strategist team is joining us. Both Andrew and Chadwick will be joining us on the conversation and helping us answer questions in the chat. So please do not hesitate to ask your questions. For more information about today's program, make sure you check out our links at the end of the program and the blogs I mentioned that were posted this week on our website. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, Jason, if you could go ahead and launch the first poll. We're kind of curious about how you're using SharePoint today. Are you not using it all? Are you using it only as a file directory? Or are you using it as an intranet? Are you starting to use it with SharePoint agents or something other? We'd love to hear your feedback. Again, as always, all of our polls are anonymous, so don't worry about sharing your information with us on this call. So let's get started with the agenda. The agenda today is we're going to first talk about SharePoint and AI, what's changed. Jen's going to go into that. She's then going to talk about how AI actually thinks and looks at your SharePoint content so that it's available to surface the content. And then we're going to talk about everyday AI scenarios in SharePoint and then walk through some examples. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jen. If you want to go take over the screen sharing, that'd be great.
Great. Can I get confirmation, Ken, that you guys can see my screen?
Yep, looks
beautiful.
Good.
Everybody, I'm so happy to join you guys today. There's been a lot of changes with SharePoint and AI. I think we're going to see that we're going to continue to see these changes come over time. And as Ken said today, we do have a few bumps with demos, a few things that are not working the way that they will be working when it gets out of public preview and into general availability. So the features we're going to show today are in a public preview. You have to turn them on your tenant in the worldwide tenant. So this is early insight information into the things that are coming. If you're not in a commercial tenant, which many of you are not, you're going to be in GCC or GCCH, it should be coming to you soon after it hits public release. So one of the things that they really talked about when they started going into this is that every day there are 2 billion files uploaded to SharePoint and 2 million sites created every day.
That's insane.
That's insanity. So yeah. I love that. And so when looking at that, they wanted to come up with a way to give better context to Copilot so that when we're using Copilot and using AI, if we have all of our content inside of SharePoint, how can we work with it? And so through that, we're getting some things that AI is going to be able to help us with. So the 3 major talking points that they have is a refreshed SharePoint UI. So you're going to notice things, corners that used to be square are now rounded, or corners that used to be rounded are now square. So you're going to get some refreshed UI coming out to you, because what is life without, things changing every week by Microsoft? You're going to get what they call the floating action button. They call it the Fab. It's interesting. I did bring up on one of the calls that I was in is that they really do. One group calls it the Fab, another group calls it the Tab. So there's different groups. You might hear different products saying the same thing. They mean the floating Copilot button that you can click to start up actions. And then AI in SharePoint. This is the piece that is through preview, but you have to opt into it. So it would be something your admins would have to turn on and make available in your environment. So I'm going to do my best to walk you guys through some demos today and show you what is changing. So just like we said, just because it's announced doesn't mean it's available in your tenant. So this is an opportunity for you guys to plan around what you have enabled today, and then when it comes out, you're going to be ready to take advantage of it. So things are going to be shipping by ring, region, and license. So everyone's going to see it at a different time. And I wouldn't expect it to go to GCC until after it's at least out of preview and into general availability. So I think you guys have a little bit of time on these features before you have them. So what we want to kind of understand is Copilot reads the shape of your SharePoint and not just your files. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if we point Copilot at a mess, we're going to get a mess. If we point Copilot at structured data, we're going to get more details around it. So it's always going to honor permissions. So if you have your SharePoint permissions set correctly, you're going to be great there. But it's going to look at columns, metadata, list, how are things structured. It's going to look at the content on pages, and it's going to try to relate a context to it. So if you think about something like that, what if I'm in a policy site and all of my previous policies are saved in the same library as my current policy? How would it know which one's going to be the latest and greatest? Is it going to be something that is by last modified date? Is there going to be an active or inactive status? These are all different things you can do to help give SharePoint a little more context when you're talking with it with Copilot. So,
Hey, Jen, just a second there. So
yeah.
obviously, like you said, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Even though this may not be ready for you, now's the time to start working on these basic things, the permissions, the DLP, the structure of your libraries, clean it up, get rid of some of the old data that retention, is no longer needed, that kind of stuff. Don't wait until you start using Copilot possibly, because obviously your results are going to vary accordingly. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now is the time to even identify if you have a mess. What they're also providing is a skills file and a context file. So every time you create a site, these files are going to exist. These files are markdown files, easily edited, also easily created by just talking to Copilot or your AI of choice and saying, create a markdown file for me that does this. The context file is going to give what the site is. It's going to give the context. How are people going to use the site? What
Uh-oh, I think we lost Jen, right?
I'm still here, so
looks like she's on hold.
Jen, you back? Looks like you just got back.
I'm back.
You can
Okay,
go ahead and
that
reshare
was-
your screen again, though, please.
I'm sorry about that. That was odd. Okay. So picking up where I left off, a content file or context file is going to give them what the site is for. So this is a contracting site where people are going to go pull the latest and greatest contracting. This is a project management site where people are going to come in, find the projects. This is a product site where people need to come in and find out what product pricing is. They need to find out what the details are around the service. They may need to find out previous contracts that we've had. So you're going to be able to give the context of the site. That's going to help the AI be grounded to know, what is the context of all of these files. Skills is going to be an activity that AI can help us do. So one skill can be make sure that there are no social security numbers in this site. Make sure that we take the customer name off before we share, if I have a site of examples, we don't want to have a customer name there. We want to scrub it. so this is going to be a skill, something that AI can do, and you can build out different skills for your list, your libraries, your sites, all of those things there to give additional ability for things to happen. So that's really kind of what we're looking at. So if you imagine when you create a new site or go into an existing site, you're going to be able to give context. Why are we using this site? And then are there AI skills that I can add to it that are going to help me, and I can call those skills and activate them when I'm working with the site.
Yep. And so both of these things are going to really help AI be more efficient on what it does. Also, I put a link at the very end of the program on our helpful links section about an introduction to how to work with skills. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely check that out.
Yes, skills is definitely going to be one of those areas where we're going to become skilled in using skills. I'd say it's a pretty new area still and a little bit hit and miss. But in the public preview, you can get a lot of great examples of things that you can do. So the concept is we want to go from just storing content to acting on it, whether that's going to be a human acting on it or it's going to be AI or an agent acting on it. So one of the scenarios that they talked a lot about was that, you know, you're going to upload a file. AI is going to read it. The skill is going to read it and scan for any PII, extract the renewal date, pull out that information. It's going to then provide a summary of it and then notify an owner 60 days before it expires. So you can create skills to look at that. So we have a question in the group. Are skills and context files just used by Copilot or other AI that looks at SharePoint? So if you're going from Microsoft's standpoint. So if I'm using Copilot Chat and I'm including a SharePoint site, then yes, they're going to be looking at the context because it's part of the framework for how they're setting up their AI. For third-party tools, I don't know. It would be probably dependent on those third-party tools. So if you're using the Microsoft tools, then and you're interacting with SharePoint, yes. Third-party, we'd have to look into more.
Yeah, it's still kind of new to this. But
Yeah.
but this one's a great example, right? So a procurement site like you're showing here. When I worked at the state of North Carolina, we always were wondering, heads up on 60 days out, when is this contract coming up for renewal so that we can get the updates to the contract done or whatever. Having this automation in place would be huge for a library.
Yes. And what I love about it, this is my favorite sentence: no Power Automate flow, no developer, no business analyst needed here. We're just telling the site what we needed to do, and it's helping walk me through it. So what I want to do is show some of the features as they're available today. So I have a couple of different scenarios. I'm going to go through them. I am going to try my best to pull up and do what I can do live. I have some things already queued up, but I do have screenshots of everything as well. So going into the first one, a document library that nobody has touched in years. How are we going to clean it up? Because again, we've said we need to have things clean so we can know how they're doing it. So what if you were to use AI to help you clean up the library? And so we talked about how the fab is available. So I'm going to come over here, get this out of the way. I'm going to come over here, and I have got a document library. This document library has 250 random files in it. And so I want to ask my AI, hey, find the duplicates, archive anything not opened in 18 months, and propose a folder structure for me. So that was the initial prompt that I started with.
That's huge.
Yeah. And SharePoint says, hey, I'm going to tackle all three in parallel. Let's go. And it came across and it told me, here are the duplicates that we have. So a checklist, release notes, and a marketing plan. So, and also what confidence does it have that they're actually duplicates? So it's giving me information. It's letting me know, hey, nothing's archived. That makes sense. This is a test site I created in the last week. So yes, things have not gone 18 months without getting touched. But it does come and say, hey, I've got this folder structure. So your files already have a strong naming convention. Let's go into that. Right? It's finance, legal operations, different things like that. So option A, do you want to do it by department? This is, if the teams are going to browse that way, or do you want to do it by work product type? I'm going to go with work product type. Okay. And then naming standard, it's giving suggestions if we want to tighten it. Then it's going to say, hey, here's some next steps. I can actually help you do some of these things. What would we like to tackle first? So I'm going to say, let's do the folder structure. Now I'm going to kick this off and it is going to think. So this is where it's, I don't want to sit here and make it too long of an arrow waiting for us, but when we're in the document library and how we got here is this is my fab. And so when I click the floating action button, it's going to go here. And one thing I'll say is we all need to be prepared for change. One thing that I've already seen changing often is where is the fab? So sometimes it's in a different corner of the screen. We've got that there. So that's constantly changing. So you don't really need to know, I'm always going to click here in this corner. It's you're looking for that Copilot logo to help you get started. Now, I don't want to sit here and wait for all of this because it could take a little bit of time, but I will show you when I click up that there, it's still going. So it's going to give me options of things that I can do. If I was in another library here, I could open it and here you go. Here's let me close it here. I hit the fab, ask a question, and it's going to pop up. And I can engage with it. It's going to give me contextual help. So, based on where I'm at, it's going to let me know what I could do. So I could pick one of these, or I could go and navigate it a bit myself.
So Chadwick, seeing some of these tools, what do you think about your daily work activities? A little bit faster, maybe help you out a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's super useful. We do this quite a bit. I use it myself. And a lot of across the board. So very, very useful, very responsive, very reactive.
All right. Thanks, Chadwick.
All right. So I love this, the way they're thinking about it. It's a builder experience for the 90% of the users who aren't builders. So they really want your end users to be able to go in and do this. They want them, to be protected by the governance that's in place, the security protocols that are in place, all of the qualifications you have to get, right? What it's going to stand for, that's all going to be honored and remembered there. But we can go in as a business owner and in plain English, say things like show me items that are overdue, group by owner, hide closed items. We're going to be able to talk in plain English language, whatever language, plain language, to go and just ask the site to do things for us. Okay, so getting into some more.
So before you go there, right, this goes back to governance. We can't just assume everybody has governance in place. Again, take a look at the two blogs that have been written. Absolutely. If your users are going to start creating sites, you need to have templates. You've got to have governance. You got to have guardrails. I think we've done a really good job on those two documents or those two blogs that we've written about how to set up a governance program and kind of what things to do to get your SharePoint, started down the governance road. So definitely take a look at those things.
Yeah.
Without it, it's a mess.
Yes. And you don't have to be worried or concerned that AI is going to just start making changes, because the way SharePoint has it designed right now is there's still a human in the loop. So AI is going to empower you to do all of these things on your site. It's not going to necessarily do them for you in instances. So you have to set it up. You have to say, yes, I want this. So the first thing at the site level, one way to improve a site. So if we come over here, if we come over here to our site, and this is just a SharePoint site set up for this, it is going to automatically load up because I'm the owner of this site, I'm the designer of the site, and it's going to say, hey, finish your site setup. Like, what are the things that you want to do? It's saying, I notice you have contracts. So what if we create a dedicated page for contract management information, giving people information on what to do, having a workflow with it? Like, it's going to come up with, based on the content in my site, all of the things that I can do to make the site a better experience for people. So it is going to guide me through. If I, close it and I keep going back, it's something I can go back to by just clicking on here and saying, finish site setup. And it's going to come back and I can get to these ideas and these actions for things that I can do. So it's really just a click of a button and it's there for you. And they're trying to proactively guide you through the things that you can do with the site to improve the site. So that's that first demo there. The next demo, and again, it's you get the floating, here's the screenshots we have for you. You get your floating action bar and finish site setup. It's available. After you've gone through all of these steps, the next thing would be looking at it and saying, what improvements can I make to the site? All right, so show that one off. The next one is doing a rule. So the library is going to let you handle a rule on the site. So I want to tag and classify documents. I want to autofill documents. I want to notify owners 60 days before expiration date. And I want to route, but still protect it. So make sure there's no PII in it. So, you know, it could be make sure there's no customer names in it. Make sure there's no different things there. You know, insert kind of your own use case here. And how that works is we're going to go into the site and at the library level, go in and see some of the things I can do and work with the site. So I am going to go back to my site here. Actually, here we go. And I can go into this document library. See, it's still working on the folders that we did earlier. But here I could say, hey, I would like to I want to create a skill to do the following: extract the renewal date, notify the owner 60 days before expiration, scrub social security numbers before generating a preview. And it says, great idea. That's a solid skill. Let me make sure I have the details right by asking you a few questions. So we see here, even if I put something in plain language, but it doesn't have enough information to build it out, it's going to come back and prompt me. And so I'm able to have this conversation with Copilot to really define and look at what I'm doing. So it's asking me, where does the renewal date typically come from? And then it's who's the owner, different things like that. Is there a column there? And what should we do? So I went and said, where the renewal date would be. It said, okay, I understand. I'll move forward with sensible defaults for everything else because I didn't answer it. And then what it does is it creates this skill. So it's going to tell me the instructions for the skill, and then it's going to come over here and yes, this looks good. Here's my contract skill. And then we tested it on one of the files. So the file here would be testing it here. So Amanda asked, you need to be an owner to complete these tasks. You need to be able to modify and edit the site to create and build and add the skills, but then the skills can be run by anyone who's using AI. So these are not declarative workflows with step-by-step and process. This is more of like things you want to have it do and things you can get it to do or call upon or engage with it as you're working through them. So depending on which one you're looking for, and sometimes it will even help you know, hey, I can't do this, but I can do this. And so as you're working with it, and this is something that I also expect to change over time, but people might have more flexible processes. It's probably going to be some combination of these with declarative workflows to really change process, but you can kind of get an idea of where they're going with everything. Now that file that I created, I wanted to show you guys that there's a new library that gets created in everyone's SharePoint site. And that's called Agent Assets. And when the Agent Assets is there, we can come down and see a couple of folders here. We have plans and we have skills. So if we look in plans here, that was the site plan to build out the site. And I'll show you guys that in just a little bit. And then we have skills. And if I go into skills, I'm going to see that when I had it create the skill, it came in here and put the file. And so this is the markdown file of what it does. And so we could edit this and change the skills out there. So the question is, do you need to activate skills if you did not create them, or or are you informed of the skills? You can ask a library what skills it has, and it will tell you. And then you need to call it out. If you don't have to activate the skill though, in terms of making it available. Once the skill is there, it's available and can be used and accessed through the AI chat. It would need to be, you do need to know it's there. How, like, I thought somebody asked about how would you know who's running them? That's going to be if they have the usage. I don't know where that's going to be captured in usage, so we'd kind of have to wait and see. I know Agent Pulse is going to have some things there, but I don't know at what level they're capturing. So I think that's something that we don't have a solid answer on right at this moment. Okay, so that's our MD file. Don't let Markdown files scare you. You are going to hear so much about Markdown files over the next coming months. Between Markdown files and MCP servers, I just want to laugh every time someone says that's what we need. But a Markdown file is just a file that is very easily understood by the current language models that we have today. So the models work very well. They can follow instructions very well from a Markdown file. So naturally, in order to kind of build out things, a lot of things are now going back to, hey, it's a Markdown file. I can easily read it. I can build what I need. So that's where that's coming from. As the models change and improve, we might also see some of those other things change and improve. But when you hear we need a Markdown file, please do not think that people are going to be having to go in and write. I've never seen anyone, as far as I've done these, have to go in and, pound two, I'm putting in a note. Like, you don't have to know that level of it. You're going to be able to use natural language to build the Markdown files that you need. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of screenshots there for you guys to reference later as you're doing it. Again, you can just go into the library, click the flab, and say, I'd like to create a skill for this library. Tell it what you want it to do, and it will walk through that for you. Okay. This one is FAQ from a document. And so we want to create an FAQ. There's two ways that we can do this. One of them would be using creating a SharePoint page and linking to a document. That is one of the demos that's currently not working. Or we can use the FAQ web part. So I'm going to show a demo right now with both of these to where we can see what we have.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. All right, so I'm going to go to my homepage here, and I'm going to show you a working FAQ web part. So I'm going to close out of this for now because we're not doing that. But here I have project comment marking roadmap FAQ. And these were questions and answers that were automatically built for me based on a document. So I want to show this off. So I'm going to just create a new page, and I'm going to create a blank page. I'm going to come here, and I'm basically going to add, oops, if I click on the right part, I'm going to add an FAQ web part. So it's a new web part that's here. I'm going to just click add that. And then I'm going to be able to add information. So I'm going to go click on add a file, and it's going to search my recent OneDrive activity. And I'm going to come over here and grab my AI best practices document. And then I'm going to say, this is, just general FAQs. And I'm going to say start. And the web part is going to start doing its magic. So the first thing it's going to do is create categories for me. And so I can say, yep, I like these categories. I can delete a category. I can add new categories. I'm going to say, that looks good. Let's draft some questions. So again, AI is going to go through the document and then determine, what do I think the question should be? Okay, these look pretty good. So once it's done, I can have it draft my answers.
Yeah, Chadwick's saying game changing. This would take a bit of time. Right,
Think about
Yes.
intranets, right? Corporate intranets. I mean, like the capabilities now that's rolling out, it's literally game changing. You have to think what your intranets contain, like the time it would take to build all this out, referencing, coming up with the ideas, writing that content. An old way to do this would be, I'm going to maybe show file, like do the SharePoint web part where you can just show a file and you're just showing a Word doc and you're trying to keep that live. Like, I mean, it's game changing. No other way to say it.
Yeah, absolutely. So a great question that Dan has is, do you see these scaling to hundreds of terabytes of content? I think some of the auto classification compute is limited for now without pay-as-you-go, right? Yes, as of right now, these are not metered. I think we need to continue to watch and see what Microsoft is doing. They tend to make announcements around big events. And I would say the next big event is Build. So I think we might have some more information after Build. So I think we just kind of have to wait and see and adapt and kind of watch what the industry is doing. I think that given enough time and compute power, yes, I think some of these things are slow. I mean, even as you see right now, they have that. So Corey, the next question is, what would users see or be able to do in SharePoint if they don't have a Copilot license? If you're creating the content as of right now, you need to have the Copilot license. If you're just viewing the content would be there for you to view it. If you don't have a Copilot license, you're still going to be able to engage and interact with it as of now. You just can't create the agents, and you may be limited on some of the things that you can access in terms of UI, but it's not clearly defined yet. So I think, Corey, that's another one that we're going to have to watch a little bit. The way it works now is the maker needs to have a license and everyone else can consume. I'm not sure if it's going to work that way when it comes out of preview. They tend to change things when they come out of preview to GA. So I want to be careful how I answer that, Corey. It's how it works today, but I don't know they have not said one way or another if that's how it's going to work when they get out of preview. Go ahead, Ken, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, if you want to start using the skills and things like that, obviously whoever's creating that has to have the Copilot license to do those things, but the consumers currently do not.
Yeah. And then I have a few options for my web part. If I want to change it to plus and minus instead of chevrons, I can do that. If I don't want to show categories, I can turn them off. And this is a great one. Can I enable people to submit a question, which is fantastic because it's going to submit a question and then the person who created this page is going to get notified that, hey, there's a new question here. Do you want to add it to the list? So the FAQ author, the person who did it, it's going to send it. So author anonymously and say, hey, here's the question I had because I couldn't find it. So I think that's a great feature that they have there. And then what happens is once you have this, when you go back into the web part to edit, it will have recognized if there are changes that need to be made. So I'm going to go back to the home screen here. Oops, I went to the wrong home screen. Sorry about that. But I have one that's already here, and this one's on here. So if I opened this page in edit mode and I came to this is what you're going to see. Your FAQ may need a refresh and there might be suggestions of what I want to do to it. So if the document underneath it changes, if there's different things there, it's going to come up and the owners can go in, and that's as easy as refreshing it. And I think that's just a wonderful time saver of a tedious task that no one likes to do anyway. So that's a great way that this web part is, auto helping us as we go. All right. The other one that I've been unable to do, let me just see if I can, is when you're in a page and you want to create a new page, you should be able to just discard the changes here. If I'm here and I want to create a new page, if I was going to create blank, I should be able to come in here and say, build out this page from a document. And so I can, again, go find that document, the best practices document, build out this page with new sections. And if I hit go there, then it should build out the page. This is one that I guess took the day off. It took the day off yesterday and it has not come back. So this is actually when I reached out to some of my contacts in the program, they told me that they were having some issues with this feature. So I'm not convinced that this feature is fully working right now, but that's why we're in a preview. They're trying to see what happens when they roll it out to users, get telemetry, get feedback, make changes before they go to GA. So it should, in theory, build a wonderful website page for you. And so that's great because such a big percentage of people on this call said they use SharePoint for their intranet. So we can go in there and we can tell people this is the persona that's going to be reading this page. Take this document and pull out what's going to be important to that persona and create this page for me. And then the human in the loop is going to be the one who reviews the content that gets created, validates that it's okay. Oh, look at that, it built it. Yeah, there we go. So it started to take that document.
About it, and then it shows
I know,
right?
how crazy is that? But it built it all out. It gave me the colorful sections, and it gave me a page. So that is a starting point. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is get started. Now you can take this information and work with it once you're there. So I could actually publish this page. I mean, that's great.
A huge start. Nobody likes creating content from scratch. That's a huge starter.
Yeah. And then, then I think you could even go in and in different sections, you might be able to, you've got your pieces over here. So this is the chat. So you can talk if I wanted to talk about that section. There are toolboxes of different things that you have, settings, formatting, all of these things, design ideas. If there was anything there that, we could do for our section to elevate it, it would come up here. And then also, this is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there are going to be some people who love this accessibility assistant, and it's going to come in and say, hey, well, here's the things that you need to fix. I'm happy to say that we have all green check marks for a page that Microsoft made. That hasn't always happened, so that's great.
That's great. The accessibility assistant's great. Everyone always wants to know if their stuff is meeting accessibility.
Yeah.
I have a question,
absolutely.
Jed. Maybe some people would ask this, but what can it do for web parts? If I want to make a page, can it recommend maybe dropping a quick links web part on there? And if so, can it automatically create those links for me? Or like where do I, as a customer, still have to make updates to that page versus what AI is going to drop in?
Such a good question. I would say today it's going to give you text from a document. The reason I'm going to say what I would say it does today is because I'm about to show you guys a way that you can build a site with the new builder process. And this process actually does create more elements. And so you can almost get a feeling by the way that they're going with the build that they're going to be able to do more with AI. But as of right now, it's going to give you text and you might have to supplement with the web parts and different things like that. But I imagine as time goes on, we'll be able to get, because if you listen to Microsoft when they talk about it, it's all about getting AI to do more. And so that's where they're going to be adding in those features and that functionality. That's a great question and a segue into the next site. So this one is great. This one is going to change your world. That's what I'll say. If you're a SharePoint creator and you create sites, if you're one of those ones who's adding to that 2 million a day with SharePoint sites, this is going to change how you do it. So I came in here and I said, I want to create a site to promote event, including section, schedule, travels, and featured speakers. I got here by just if I was in SharePoint, and I came over here, you've got publish and you've got build. So if I come over here to build, it says, hey, what do we want to build today? So I could describe the solution that I'm trying to build inside of SharePoint. Maybe I just want to, click on this one, create a content management site. And then I hit go, and it is going to generate into the view that you just saw. But it may have some more questions for me first. So we haven't gotten to that point yet. It's thinking. And it's like, hey, ask me some questions. What kind of content are you working with? Well, this is a policy site used by employees. Okay, so it's going to think through that. and then it is going to take me, hopefully, to the build. Well, just pretend we already did it. This is the build it takes me to. So this is the next view you get. And it's letting me know, great, here's a home page. And then we're going to give you a page that's your featured speakers. We're going to give you a page for travel details. We're going to give you a document library. We're going to give you a list called speakers, a list called conference schedule, and a list called frequently asked questions. Then I can go into each of these and I can come over and say, oh, this list has got, 7 columns in it. Okay, it's giving me a track, speaker, start date, end date, room, day, session. Well, I know we're only going to have a 1-day event. So I can say, I don't want that column. And notice what it does. It says it's working on it, because when I click the X there, the AI is now updating my build plan. So it's updating what I want to view. And so this will take a couple of seconds, but we'll see. I think we're going to get to a point soon where we're going to be like, remember when we were doing demos on Copilot and AI and we had to sit and make jokes in between and it took so long?
Yeah, just got to build more data centers, I guess, huh?
Right. Right.
There's no more room left in Northern Virginia. It's like the entire all Loudoun County. It's wild.
Okay, well, I'm going to close that. I don't want to necessarily wait on that. I'm going to stop that activity from going. And then what will happen is once we get it to the spot that we want, we've answered all the questions, we would go over here and we'd be able to say, build it. And then SharePoint is going to go out and build the site for us with all of the content that it said here. So imagine if you know what you're building, you don't necessarily have to go in and say, build a site, then build a library, then build another library, then build another library. So you're able to go in and do all of this from this builder view and then hit make it happen. So I think that's one of the amazing things for people who makes a lot of sites. I think it's also going to make it a lot easier for people who, business owners who maybe want to make a site but don't necessarily want to go to 3 or 4 hours of SharePoint training. They can come in here and with natural language build out a shell of what they're looking for and immediately start working with content.
Can I give a comparison of anyone that's on this call that uses Claude Design or anything like that? While it's amazing for sure, but what you just saw is almost like its version of design, only then you can say, I love the design, now build it, right? Where Claude can't do that, especially crossing into Microsoft, but seeing it real time right there and then clicking execute, like it's kind of a big deal. It's really awesome.
And this is from somebody who, how long have you been in the SharePoint internet building or building business?
So look, my whole career has been 20 years in SharePoint. So it's a disruptor, right? It's disruptive and it's amazing at the same time. Like I love it. I think it's amazing. You can build sound quality delivery. You can build amazing intranets. Why is that good? Because then that frees up capability to build other automations, other business improvements using the ecosystem and platform. Like it's not replacing.
Which is that next level we never got to because it takes so long to get there, right?
Exactly right. So while the fear is replacement of skill and ability, I see it as, I can do way more with my knowledge. I'd rather do the bigger things. And so great, AI, you do all the small stuff for me. Like knock that out. I'll go build awesome studio agents or really build a like you can just do more with your knowledge now.
This is actually the plan for the site that I've been showing you all the demos from today. I used Builder to make it, and this is the markdown file. So let's say you, this has never happened to anybody, right? You didn't create a SharePoint site, but now you own it. This build plan will let you know how it was built and what the things were. So it can help you get some context there. Now you can't rebuild it or anything like that at this point, but you can go in and see what did they create? What was it like originally? So that's going to give you a little bit of information. That's more than we've ever had before with how was the site set up? What did it include and different things like that. All right. So then that takes me back over here. I've showed that demo. So I believe, oh no, we're talking about getting started. You already own it. We put mostly there. If you have M365 Copilot, then it's going to be included. And as we talked about right now, in the preview, it is available for anyone with a Copilot license to build, but then anyone licensed or not can consume it and use the things you build. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with that in the future, but that's how it is. That's how it is today. Coming still, they've made announcements already, and things that are coming in the future from this SharePoint AI team is co-work style multi-step agents. So if you're familiar with co-work, but being able to do multi-step with agents, and then high order agentic capabilities, that would be the agents doing more. And the new site builder experience, they're going to keep developing that. And then long term is to get all of that stuff into GCC, GCCH, and DoD. So the previews are only available right now in commercial, but I know they don't have it on the roadmap yet. But once it goes to GA, they're going to try to have it on the roadmap for when it can go to the other clouds. So we don't have an answer there yet for you guys, but at least you can see the features and know what's coming and know how you can act upon it. So I'm going to pass it back at this point to Ken. And while Ken is switching out the screen share, I'm going to answer the question that we have here. It says, does Copilot understand folder context? When you ask it, will it take into the account the context of the folder hierarchy? It's going to rank the folders there. If you have a specific hierarchy, that's when you're really going to want to go in and create a context file. And then with that context file, you can tell it how you want it to respond. So it's going to do its best efforts based on the structure that it's set up. And I'm sure they're going to have it documented somewhere, is metadata more important than a folder? And all that kind of stuff. But if you really want it, that's where you can build out that context file.
While we're waiting for the next question, which I see in the chat window, which we're ready to answer, can you go ahead and launch the poll, Jason, for the next question for this? So yeah, I agree that you could have a messy sprawl, but this goes back to providing governance into your system, making sure you develop governance. Again, read the 2 blogs that we've developed this month. I think they'll help you get started a long way. Also using tools like SharePoint Advanced Management, looking for those sites that don't have owners. Every site needs an owner for someone to be accountable for, right? So I think the SharePoint Advanced Management tooling could help you a little bit there in the governance section, and then as well as getting something in writing from a policy standpoint and training your users on that governance as well before you hand over the keys to somebody. They need to know what the rules are of the road. So that's kind of how I'd answer that question. But yeah, you're right. If you don't do those things, you're going to have a mess on your hands worse than you have today.
Yeah. And I love the question that's there. Would it suggest a metadata structure to site owners if it detects significant usage of folders versus metadata? Yes, in theory, that's exactly what it would do. And a lot of these things, I feel like we're going to be using AI to get our site ready to be used by AI. So I think we're going to have to do a lot of cleanup and restructuring, but I think the AI tools are going to help us identify patterns and identify where we could make it better. The great thing is, the great thing is you can always ask it, why did you make this decision? Why did you do this over this? Why did you give me this versus this? And then once you understand the why, then you can go back and use the right language to get the what. So custom metadata and its ability to read it, it depends on what type of custom. There are some columns that it doesn't recognize yet, like lookup columns. Then there's the managed metadata. It can't read all of those types of columns. So there's some things it's going to get, but it does not have full fidelity yet. So I think that's where you're getting the different answers. It doesn't have all of the column types yet. I don't know specifically which ones. I might be able to go look it up and see, but there's like lookup columns, and I know managed metadata and site columns aren't done yet. So if you have a custom metadata that's a site column, that's not included yet, but those are all things that I believe the team is working on.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for those awesome demos. Go ahead, Chad, if you're going to comment.
As you pair this up with what's, the Power Platform and vibe coding new apps and dropping
Yep.
that on the AI built SharePoint sites and using the design feature and co-work. Like the ecosystem that's being created, it's mind blowing, and it takes what you can do yesterday and 10x's it. Like the ability to produce these fast results. I mean, it's all I do is SharePoint, right? My whole career, and it is like astonishing what's available now, and I can't even imagine like Microsoft improving on it. Like it's at some point you'll just be able to think, I want an intranet that has this and these workflows, and then beep boop beep, there it is, right?
Yep. So we had a couple questions come in advance. I want to make sure we get to them. I think the question that we had in advance about the frequently asked questions and having some problems with I think we solved that problem, but I know that was an internal user. If you still have questions about that, please feel free to reach out to us. GCC high availability, again, this is still in public preview. It's going to be a while before it gets into GCC high, as well as DIB, obviously. What kind of licenses do you need? I think we've answered that question already. What should you do next? I think you should try to pick one library and start working with this. If you have an M365 Copilot Premium license, go ahead and pick one library and start trying to do the cleanup on it and try out some of these new tools if you have access in a commercial environment. Definitely give it a try. Again, try to take a look at these governance documents, these blogs that we just wrote recently. I think that'll help about things getting started. Making sure that you start cleaning up your content, you're standardizing your structure and your metadata, making sure you have clarification on your ownership, make sure that there is ownership. Starting off small with one use case, maybe a library to begin with, and then prepare for AI-driven processing. Think about things that could really save you time, like some of these skills that we talked about. Again, there's a link in the helpful links section at the very end of this presentation that I'll be showing. And so really, the theme here is AI is only good as the content and structure of your SharePoint environment. So you got to pick a pilot site and just get started to really get your hands, roll up your sleeves and get started on this thing. Yes, the recording will be available. Jason will send that out afterwards. So just want to remind everybody as we start wrapping up here, this is what we do, this Cloud Office Hours every month. This is one of about 28 different one-on-one workshops that we have available, as you can see on the side. Feel free to reach out to us. If you're not getting the newsletter, please let us know. If you want other folks in your organization to get the newsletter, please let us know. We're happy to schedule these sessions. Kim Snyder will be happy to work with you on getting these things set up. Here's the useful links I mentioned. These first two are Microsoft links on just overview of the whole AI and SharePoint, and then an introduction on skills. That's a YouTube video, and then obviously the two blogs I keep talking about. Next month, June 25th at 1 o'clock, the fourth Thursday of the month, we will be talking about changes coming to Microsoft Project Online. Specifically, September 30th brings the end of life for Project Online and what your path could look like for managing projects moving forward. So make sure you mark the calendar if you're working with your PMO or you're using Project Online and you're worried about that end of life conversation. We're going to start talking about some solutions there possibly for you. And as always, if you have a topic that you'd like to discuss, please put it in the chat window. Or of course, you can always reach out to your account team. We would love to know how we did today. So please, if you could, again, these are anonymous. Just go ahead and give us a 1 to 5 rating. 1, not useful. 5, very useful. We'd love to get your feedback. That's it for today. We explored how SharePoint is evolving from a place where content is stored to a platform where content is actively being surfaced by AI. We walked through a couple major shifts that are happening over the last 90 days. The refreshed UI, the floating action bar, AI and SharePoint preview, and then we took a look at some of those capabilities in real time there. We showed you how you can clean up some messy document libraries with plain language prompts. We showed you how to create sites, and showed you how to start using skills with no Power Automate or development skills required. So the takeaway is simple. AI is only as good as the content and structure you have. Start doing your homework. Pick one pilot site to work with. We'd love to hear your feedback. Also, try cleaning it up. See if it works for you. The organizations that prepare now will be better positioned to turn evolving AI capabilities into practical, trusted outcomes later. So again, the work you put in now will definitely pay off. So either get that preliminary, security work, the structure work that we're talking about in this governance, get it up now before we start using even more and more AI to make it better. Whether you're just getting started or scaling toward enterprise maturity, our cloud strategists are always here, and the YouAlreadyOwnIt program is always here to guide you, answer your questions, and help you turn your goals into actionable outcomes. That's a wrap. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and especially Jen for presenting, and Chadwick and Andrew for joining in the conversation and the chat questions. And again, welcome to Jason. We're so glad to have you on the team, and we look forward to future events with you all. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month.